The Middle East is teetering on the edge of a far wider confrontation, as Iran claims it has unleashed a massive multi-phase military campaign against U.S. forces across the Gulf, one of the most dramatic escalations of the entire standoff between Tehran and Washington. In a series of explosive statements, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed that American military installations in Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman were targeted in coordinated missile and drone operations, describing the campaign as direct retaliation for fresh U.S. attacks on Iranian territory and warning that the operation was not over. The claims remain largely unverified, but taken together, they sketch one of the widest offensives Iran has announced in this war. According to the IRGC, the chain of events began near the Strait of Hormuz, with an alleged incident involving two vessels, ships that Tehran says endangered navigation, after switching off their tracking systems, with Iran accusing Washington of being tied to the incident. Tehran says the United States then carried out attacks on Iranian coastal positions, triggering what it described as an immediate and forceful response, carefully planned and executed in phases against what it called key American military assets across the Gulf. In the first phase, the IRGC claimed its missiles and drones struck Prince Hassan Air Base in Jordan. Through Press TV, the force said its aerospace units hit fuel depots and ammunition storage facilities, and claimed it set fuel storage areas and ammunition facilities ablaze, dealing what it called a significant blow to U.S. logistics in the region. What is confirmed is that Iranian missiles entered Jordan's airspace or territory. Jordan said Iranian missiles entered the kingdom without causing casualties, while reports differed on whether they fell or were intercepted, and Amman warned it would deal firmly with any threat to its sovereignty, declaring its territory would not become an arena for conflict. The second phase, according to Iranian statements, focused on Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain. The IRGC claimed it targeted a U.S. drone command and control center, along with helicopter maintenance facilities and what Tehran described as a hangar connected to U.S. surveillance aircraft. Iran framed the strikes as part of a broader answer to what it called decades of American military pressure in the region, a message aimed as much at the Gulf's capitals as at Washington itself. The third and fourth phases, in Iran's telling, shifted toward Kuwait. Tehran claimed it hit fuel storage areas and a Patriot air defense system at Ali al-Salam Air Base, while another strike, Tehran says, targeted a strategic radar installation at Ahmad al-Jaber Air Base. Iran's ground force also claimed attacks against a U.S. surface-to-surface missile facility, claiming HIMARS launchers and ammunition storage sites were on the target list. If any of this were confirmed, it would represent a significant expansion of the conflict's reach into U.S. positions spread across the Gulf. So far, none of it has been. The fifth phase, Iran said, widened the map further. The Iranian Navy claimed attacks against the U.S. naval support activity in Bahrain's Jufair district, and Tehran claimed that long-range air surveillance and maritime radar systems in Oman had been destroyed, a claim Oman has not independently confirmed. Separately, Iran's army announced that its air defense network intercepted what it identified as a hostile drone near Bandar Abbas, saying the aircraft was brought down with a surface-to-air missile. With that, the announced campaign stretched from Jordan's desert to Oman's coastline. Then came the demand attached to it all. The IRGC said the Strait of Hormuz would remain open and secure for international shipping only if Washington ended what Tehran described as illegal military interference and respected the sovereignty of the Gulf's coastal states. Any restrictions or threats involving the strait, Iran said, would end only after U.S. military actions stopped. Tehran accused Washington of repeatedly violating Iranian territory despite diplomatic efforts, including a Pakistan-mediated understanding aimed at halting hostilities, and pointed to alleged American strikes on an agricultural water pumping facility in Mashhad as evidence of what it called continued aggression. The world's most important oil corridor, in other words, is now openly on the table as leverage. So let us draw the line between claim and fact, because this story lives in that gap. Confirmed by governments in the region, Iranian missiles entered Jordan's airspace or territory, air defenses activated in Kuwait and Bahrain, and sirens sounded across parts of the Gulf, claimed but unverified. The fires, the destroyed radars, the Patriot batteries, the HIMARS launchers, and virtually every specific assertion of damage at U.S. facilities. Iran has released statements and footage it says shows the operations, but no independent assessment has matched Tehran's account of destruction, and Washington has not confirmed significant losses. Multiple phases, multiple countries touched, and a single, deliberate narrative, Iran presenting itself as able to threaten the entire American footprint in the region. Whether the damage matches the drama is exactly what the coming days will reveal. Satellite imagery, insurance filings, flight disruptions, and base activity will eventually tell their own story, the same way independent analysis gradually filled in the picture after earlier rounds of this war. Until then, the honest position is the uncomfortable one. Something significant clearly happened across the Gulf's skies. How much of it landed and how hard remains inside the fog that both capitals have every incentive to shape. And Tehran insists this is not the end. The IRGC declared that its operations had pushed U.S. forces into what it described as a state of desperation, and warned that any continuation of hostile American actions would trigger even harsher and more comprehensive responses. The statement described the retaliatory operations as ongoing, affirming what it called Iran's commitment to decisive action against any threat to its security or interests. The strikes, it emphasized, were carried out with high precision using ballistic missiles and drones. Every phrase of it was crafted for an audience beyond the battlefield, a promise to Iranians that their military is answering, and a warning to the Gulf that hosting the next American operation carries a price. There is also a bargaining logic underneath the fire. By tying the security of Hormuz directly to an end of U.S. military actions, Tehran is converting its campaign into leverage, positioning every claimed strike as a down payment on the negotiation it says Washington keeps sabotaging. Escalation in this framing is not the alternative to diplomacy. It is Iran's way of setting the terms for it. Step back, and the significance of this moment does not depend on verifying every claim. Even if only part of Iran's account survives verification, the political signal is already clear. Iran is announcing in public and in detail that the entire arc of American bases around it, from Jordan through Bahrain and Kuwait to Oman, sits inside its declared target map. The message landing across the Gulf is brutal. Hosting American power in this war can mean inheriting its enemies. And for the countries caught in between, whose sirens keep sounding over cities that never chose this fight, the question is no longer whether the US-Iran confrontation will touch them. It already has. The question is how much further it spreads, and whether the strait that feeds the world's economy becomes the next phase of all. The coming days will bring the answers. Watch for independent damage assessments from Jordan to Oman. Watch how Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar recalibrate their hosting of American forces as their own skies keep lighting up. And watch whether the Pakistan-mediated channel, battered but not yet declared dead, produces one more attempt to pull both sides back. Because if it does not, the multi-phase campaign Iran announced this week may be remembered not as the peak of this war, but as the overture to something much larger. Subscribe to WLA for daily geopolitical analysis.